everyone, it's Ms. Spencer. Today we'll be finding the volume formula. The objective for today is that students will be able to find the volume of rectangular prisms by using a formula. We're going to start with a quick review of area. Notice the rectangle on our left. This is a two-dimensional figure, which means it's a flat shape. Here we have a length and a width, and we're going to use both of those to find the area. The length is 5 units because there's 5 units going across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The width is 6 units because there's 6 units going back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To find the area, we could count each individual unit, but that might take a while. So what we could do is multiply the side length, which is the length times the width. So we're going to multiply 5 units times 6 units in order to find the area. 5 times 6 is 30, and units times units is units squared. Just like we're multiplying the whole numbers, we do need to multiply the units. So make sure that we remember to put that 2 as our exponent, showing that we've multiplied units 2 times. Let's do one more review of area. With this rectangle, we have 5 centimeters by 2 centimeters. Our length is 5 centimeters long, and our width is 2 centimeters. Remember, to find the area, we multiply the length times the width. So 5 centimeters times 2 centimeters. 5 times 2 is 10, and centimeters times centimeters is centimeters squared. Remember, you're multiplying centimeters times centimeters, which is why we have the 2 as our exponent. Now let's review some vocabulary. Here we have a rectangular prism. This is a 3-dimensional figure, which means that there's space inside. Here we have our length, our width, and our height as our dimensions for our rectangular prism. We can find that space and how much space there is inside our 3D figure by using unit cubes. Here is 1 unit cube. We can fill this rectangular prism with unit cubes to figure out how much space is in there. Volume is the amount of space it takes to fill an object. So when we put our unit cubes inside of our rectangular prism, we can count to see how many unit cubes we use to figure out the total volume or amount of space in that 3D figure. Here you can see that our rectangular prism is filled with unit cubes. We notice that their whole bottom layer is filled with unit cubes. It creates a flat surface. This is known as one layer. We can use multiple layers to figure out the total volume in our rectangular prism. Here we have a cube. A cube is a special type of rectangular prism because all the dimensions are the same. So here, notice that our length is 10 centimeters, our width is 10 centimeters, and our height is 10 centimeters. When all 3 dimensions are the same amount or same dimension, then we know it is a cube. So we're going to use this rectangular prism at the top to help us figure out the total volume or the total number of cubes. We notice that our width is 2 units because there's 2 units going across. Our length or depth in the program we're going to be using is 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4 units. Our height is 2 units tall. 1, 2. That means there's 2 layers, the bottom layer and the top layer. We're going to use these dimensions to help us figure out the total volume or total number of cubes needed to create this rectangular prism. So we're going to go here. Now we are at our simulator. In order to change the dimensions, we're going to go up to this customizable wheel. We're going to put the width as 2 units, the depth as 4 units, and the height as 2 units because those were the dimensions given to us. We're going to create our rectangular prism by clicking on the sides. If you accidentally click up too many sides and can't see inside our rectangular prism, you can click those sides again to pull them down. This gray side here is the bottom of our rectangular prism. This is where we'll be placing the unit cubes. So we want to figure out how many unit cubes are on the bottom. We can use the cube tool here on the left to figure out how many cubes make up that bottom layer. Each time we click cube, a new unit cube is placed in our rectangular prism. So we've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 unit cubes to make that bottom layer. Notice here we can see all 8 unit cubes. Here, notice it says 8 cubes have been used. So this makes up our bottom layer. We also can see up here that our width is 2 units and our depth or length is 4 units. Remember the area formula is length times width. So we could multiply these two, 4 times 2, to get 8 to see that the total number of unit cubes used on that bottom layer is 8. Well, we don't want to know for just one layer. We need to know for both layers, 2 layers, because our height is 2. So we're going to add another layer. There's 8 unit cubes on the bottom, and when we add another layer, there's now 8 unit cubes on top. Even though we can't see those unit cubes on the bottom, we know they're still there. So we have 8 unit cubes on the bottom and 8 unit cubes on the top. So we have 8 plus 8, which is 16. Awesome, we got that right. So we can also do, instead of adding 8 plus 8, is we could multiply 8 unit cubes on the bottom times the 2 layers we have. 8 unit cubes times 2 layers is 16 total cubes. Let's go back to the presentation. Here, we can see that we had 2 units by 4 units by 2 units, and we found that there was 16 units used or cubes used to make the rectangular prism. Notice here, we represent volume as units cubes. Remember when we were multiplying to find the area of rectangles, we had to also multiply the units. Well, here we're multiplying units 1, 2, 3 times, which is why there's a 3 as an exponent. We say this 3 as cubed. So our answer or volume would be 16 units cubed. Remember how we said that length and width are side lengths. They can be interchanged. So we can also write this problem as 4 units as the width, so going back, 2 units as the length, going across, and 2 units going up and down as the height. We would still get 16 units because we've used the same dimensions. Let's try another problem. Here we have another rectangular prism. Our width is 5 units because there's 5 going across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our length is 2 units because it's 2 units going back. 1, 2. Our height is 3 units because there's 3 units going up. 1, 2, 3. We also notice that there's 3 layers: top layer, middle layer, and bottom layer. We're going to go ahead and use this information to help us build our rectangular prism in our simulator. So we're going to go back to the simulator. We're going to go to the wheel to customize. Our width is 5 units. Our depth is 2 units. And our height is 3 units. We're going to press OK. We're going to create a rectangular prism by pressing the sides up. And now we're going to fill our rectangular prism with cubes. We're going to see how many cubes are necessary to fill that bottom layer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 unit cubes are needed to fill the bottom layer. Notice, just like finding the area, here, if we multiplied 5 units times 2 units, we would get 10 units, which is the total number of units needed to fill the bottom layer. But we don't need just one layer. Remember, we need 3 layers: that bottom layer, the middle layer, and the top layer. We know this because the height is 3. So we're going to add another layer to our rectangular prism. There, now we have 2 layers. Even though we can't see the unit cubes on the bottom layer and the back, we know they're still there. Here, our bottom layer, we said, has 10 units. Our top layer also has 10 units. So each layer has 10 units. 10 plus 10 is 20 units. So far, 20 units have been used. But we don't want to know for 2 layers, we want to know for 3 layers because the height is 3. We're going to add another layer. Now our rectangular prism is filled. Let's see how many cubes have been used. We have 10 cubes on the top. They said there were 10 in the middle, and we know there are 10 on the bottom. 10 plus 10 plus 10 is 30. We could also multiply and see that there's 10 cubes on each layer, and there's 3 total layers. 10 times 3 is 30. Let's see if we're right, and we are. So we know the volume for this rectangular prism is 30 unit cubes. We're going to go back to our presentation, and we're going to see that when we have our dimensions where the width is 5 units, the length is 2 units, and the height is 3 units, we have 30 units squared. 30 units cubed. Remember, we're multiplying units 1, 2, 3 times, which is why there's a 3 as our exponent. We can say this unit as units cubed. When there's a 3 as an exponent, we say cubed. Remember how we said length and width are interchangeable. So here, the length or depth is 2 units, but we could also flip or rotate the rectangular prism so that the width is 2 units. So the width would be 1, 2. The length would be 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the height is still 3. Notice the same numbers and dimensions are used, but we're just saying the length is going across as opposed to going back. We still use a total of 30 units cubed. So I'm noticing some things here. When we multiply all the measurements, we can find the total number of cubes used or the volume. So let's go back and check to see if that's right. If we multiply all those dimensions, if we get our total volume. Let's go back to the first one here. Well, let's see. 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 times 2 is 16. Let's try it again. 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 2 is 16. So multiplying the width times the length times the height got us our volume. Let's see if it worked for the second one. 5 times 2 is 10, and 10 times 3 is 30. So we got 30 units cubed. Let's see if we used the length as being 5 units. 2 units times 5 units is 10 units squared, times 3 units is 30 units cubed. So once again, multiplying all the dimensions means that we get our volume or the total number of cubes used. So we can find that the volume formula is multiplying the length times the width times the height. Let's try to use this to help us find the volume of other rectangular prisms. One other thing I noticed is that here, the length times width, well, that's the area formula. The only difference is that we're also multiplying the height. So we can always find the area first and then multiply the area times the height or the total number of layers. So let's see if our formula works. In this rectangular prism, the width is 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 units. The length is 3 units, 1, 2, 3. So right now, 4 times 3 is 12, and the height is 2, 1, 2. So 4 units times 3 units is 12, times 2 units is 24 units cubed. Let's see if this is right. We're going to go back to our simulator. We're going to go to the customizable chart. The width is 4 units, the depth is 3 units, and the height is 2 units. We're going to create our rectangular prism walls. Now we're going to use the cube to see how many we need on the bottom layer. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cubes used on the bottom layer. But we don't want to know for one layer, we want to know for 2 layers because their height is 2 units. So there's 12 units or 12 cubes used on the bottom layer, and now there's 12 cubes used on the top layer. 12 plus 12 on the top is 24, or 12 unit cubes on each layer times 2 layers. 12 times 2 is 24. Let's see if we're right. And we are. So we know that multiplying the length times width times height gives us our total volume. Let's try another one. We know 4 times 3 is 12, times 2 is 24. If we turn the rectangular prism onto its side, 3 units, so the width would be going back, times 4 units going across is 12, times 2 units going up is still 24 units cubed. Let's try here. Our width is 2 units, 1, 2. Our length or depth is 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our height is 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. That means there's 4 layers. We have the top layer, the bottom layer, and 2 layers in the middle. So our formula would be 2 units times 4 units times 4 units. Well, 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 times 4 is 32 units cubed. Let's see if we're right. We're going to go back to our simulator. We're going to go to the customizable tool. The width is 2 units, the depth is 4 units, and the height is 4 units. We're going to create our rectangular prism. We'll see how many cubes are needed for that bottom layer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 cubes are needed for the bottom layer, just like 2 times 4 is 8. But we don't want to know for 1 layer, we want to know for 4 layers because the height is 4. So 8 cubes are used on the bottom layer. We add a second layer. 8 plus 8 is 16, or 8 times 2 layers is 16 cubes. We're going to add a third layer. 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 8 is 24. Or we can multiply 8 cubes on each layer times 3 layers. 8 times 3 is 24. We're almost there, but we need 4 units going up. Right now we only have 3. Let's add 1 more layer. Now we have 4 cubes going up, or 4 layers. So each layer has 8 cubes. Here, 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 8 more cubes here is 24 cubes, plus 8 more cubes on the top layer is 32 cubes. So we know that we need 32 cubes to fill this rectangular prism. We could also multiply 8 cubes on each layer times 4 total layers. So let's take a look at some of these takeaways from the lesson. Volume is the total unit cubes needed to fill a rectangular prism. It's the total amount of space in a 3D figure. Length and width are interchangeable. That means that the side dimensions can be either the length or the width. The formula for volume is length times width times height. Remember, the formula for area is length times width. So to find the volume is just by multiplying the area times the height. Length times width times height helps you find the volume of a 3D figure.